Calling all consumer goods business owners and marketing professionals. Does planning content ahead of time stress you out? Do you want to run Instagram and Facebook ads but just aren't sure where to start? If your answer is yes and yes, then our mini course was made for you. It's 100% free and packed with essential tactics that you can implement as soon as today. To join in, visit our website at umaimarketing.com/mini-course. All right, let's get on with the pod.
Welcome to the Umai Social Circle, where we talk consumer goods tips to help business owners and marketers grow. We're Karen and Allison, co-founders of Umai, and we're being joined by Ellen Wilson, Senior Supply Planner at Amplify Snack Brands. Thanks for joining us, Ellen.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Yes, and Ellen is a dear friend. She's not just a really amazing supply planner for CPG. She is a dear friend. So we're really lucky to have you and we're excited. So let's start with just your background. Did you always have an interest in working in operations or in CPG? Like, how'd you get here?
Really randomly, to be honest. I was working at a marketing studio. I went to school for marketing, and we just had a friend, Taylor, shout out to Taylor, who was doing recruiting at the time. She was working at a recruiting firm, and she had a random job for a customer service role at a growing CPG company. And I was ready for a change from my current job. And so I took a chance, and 5 years later, here I am.
I completely forgot that you were hired as a customer service person.
Yes. Yeah. So it was just like a random customer service representative. And it turned out to be better than I thought, because the customer service it wasn't like consumer facing. It was like Target and Kroger, and those are my customers. So it was almost like a fulfillment logistics role more than it was, customer service. So it ended up being, even better than I kind of thought it would be going into it.
And then it naturally progressed into planning, or did you find that job and you're like, that's me right there?
Yeah, so it was super random. I kind of had just gotten over being in customer service. I just wanted to do something more. And what was so great about Amplify at the time, it was still such a small company that, if you wanted to try something else, like, it was just really easy to do so. So the role for the supply planner opened up, and I just was either going to leave Amplify or wanted to do something else. So I got the chance to try it, and it really just clicked for me, and it's been such a good fit for me, and it's something I would have never even thought to try before being at Amplify. So it's really just fun how that was so random, but it's been such a wonderful fit, like, for me and how my brain works.
So, like, how your brain works, what traits would you say that people should have if they want to have a career in this?
Very logistical. So I think of it as like a giant puzzle that I'm putting together every single week. So I have to take like all of our products, all of our commands. I'm scheduling, 6 different commands every single week. And there's just like tons of different inputs that I'm taking every single week and having to say what I need them to make in their specifications of like what I can run each week. So it's just a giant puzzle that you're always having to figure out. And that's fun for me. I don't think that's fun for everyone, but for me, that is really gratifying. And like, when I can get it there, it feels really good. I would say it's also just, it keeps you on your toes every single week, especially with such a growing company. What I planned last week isn't necessarily what's needed this week. So that I'm having to go back and say, okay, I said 5,000 this week, but now I need 10,000 because it's much, bigger than I thought. So definitely thinking logistically, willing to, I'm like looking at my plan right now. It's like always on my brain, just willing to like pivot quickly to figure something out, find creative solutions for, something that might not be going well is really a lot of my job.
So like an organized problem solver.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, I think organization skills, I think that might be a must based on that explanation.
And who loves spreadsheets as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Excel is like my baby.
Must love Excel, gosh. Oh God.
Absolutely. And that's what's also been so fun is like, I didn't have a ton of Excel skills before I came into this role. And it was just something where I got pushed into it and would have to be like on Google every day being like, how to do this and how to do that. But I have learned so much, and this is such a nerdy thing to say, but like Excel is amazing and you can do so much. And I feel like I've just even scratched the surface of what you can do. So for anybody starting out that's doing any kind of, inventory planning, forecasting, anything, like Excel is where it's at 100%.
Wow. That's the nerdiest thing I've ever heard you say, Ellen.
No, I was embarrassed to admit that for a while, but I've gotten to the point where like I am who I am and I love Excel.
I love it. I really do. Well, let's backtrack a little bit and tell us more about Amplify Snack Brands. So it's the umbrella company for a lot of CPG brands. So what are those?
Yeah, so SkinnyPop is like numero uno. That's what it started with. And then now we have Pirates Booty, which is little puffs for children. Yeah, for children. Like it's for everybody.
Oh, it's for children?
Yeah, I did not know that.
Children?
It's like a children's brand, but
I did not know that.
I don't think so. Yeah, it's for everyone. And then we have Paqui tortilla chips, which is kind of like a better for you Dorito line, and Oatmega protein bars.
Wow. So you're working on planning for all of those brands? Are you?
So right now I'm just doing SkinnyPop. I have worked on all of them in my years at Amplify, which has been interesting because they're all so different with such different requirements and planning cycles and everything. But right now I'm doing the big dog SkinnyPop.
Big dog.
Nice.
Yeah.
So like walk us through your day to day. I have never been in operations. It's kind of confusing. I bet it's kind of confusing to the people that are doing it right now for their own businesses. What on a daily basis, what do you do as a senior supply planner at Amplify?
Yeah, so I'll kind of go through like my weekly buckets because it's kind of like the same process every week. So every week I'm taking, a new set of our open sales orders, open work orders, open transfer orders, forecast, inventory at all of our warehouses. And I'm putting that into a model that we've built. Everything's in Excel still, which is, kind of wild for doing this many big, planning manufacturers. But so I put all of that into a model for each, kind of co-man that I'm planning for, manufacturer that I'm planning for. And I'm basically, finding what I need to make in my next, open production slot. So that's like the main core of my job is like making those production plans for all of our co-mans. But I'm also, anytime I see something that's off on an item or inventory or something, like I have to go figure that out. So I'm talking to demand planning all week long. I'm talking to our transportation team all week long to figure out, where my inventory is. I'm talking to our deployment team to say like, hey, rush order on this. You need to get it, to this place ASAP. I'm talking to our customer service team. They're asking, where's this product? Can you get it sooner? Can we get it, in this DC instead of this? So I'm talking to like everyone in operations because everything changes so quickly all the time. Like, especially with such, a growth-based company, if we get an opportunity to do something, it's not like, oh, that's not in like the 4-week locked window of forecast. Like you need to push that out. It's like, what can we do to make it happen? So there's just like fires, there's opportunities, there's just situations, shutdown that manufacturers, everything like that I'm just having to like deal with every single week. That sounds negative, but it's just, you have to do it. And then there's just, lots of weekly meetings about everything going on. So my main job really is to make those production plans, but I would say 50-50 making the production plans from a base set of data and then going and tweaking for exceptions and fires and situations that come about.
Yeah, so that's so interesting. And the projection part kind of rattles my brain in a lot of different ways. And so you're talking about like base data. So you're a more established company now, but like, how does a small brand go about figuring out those projections without that base data?
I mean, it's still hard with that base data.
Oh, okay.
So a forecast for us is the like Bible for us. Without a forecast, like I can't do anything. I can react to what's in our open sales orders, but other than that, like I have no idea what to make in the future.
And that's kind of like if you were only focusing on that, you'd be a step behind all the time.
I'd be late. Nothing would get anywhere on time. So especially like being a more established brand, I'm having to lock things out, weeks in advance. So I'm kind of having to predict the future based on the forecast, which is a prediction of the future. So I would say like someone who is just starting out that doesn't have, a robust forecasting system, anything like that, having a really close relationship with whoever is doing your sales is like so key, because they're going to be the only people that can help you with that. So they're going to be able to tell you what they're trying to sell, what they are selling, what's expected. So that is just like, I would say the most important thing is to just have that really close relationship and like constant communication with them. Another thing is just to really watch consumer trends in, your sector. So like for popcorn, we're always watching our competitors, we're watching just the buying habits, but it really is just trying to predict the future more than anything. And a lot of it relies on us building safety stock. So I'm building like the amount that we're saying we need in 2 weeks, but I'm also building like a couple week buffer. So if that doesn't happen, I've got something to play with. So finding that amount of safety stock that is going to cover bumps in the road, but not be too much that you're just like holding product you don't need, or like is going to go expired before you can sell it or whatnot. Like that's that sweet spot of being prepared for the bumps in the road, being prepared for what's going to happen, but not just building inventory you don't need all the time.
Let's talk about safety stock. I really like that. Is there like a certain percentage that like a brand should keep in the back?
Yeah. So for me, I base it off of, so there's like the full shelf life of your product. So that's like from production to when you shouldn't eat it anymore. And then pretty much, I would say probably all, I don't know for sure, but I'm assuming all brands with an expiration also have like a sellable shelf life. So we have like a portion of our full shelf life that we can still ship to customers so that they can guarantee they get the product with enough time to sell it on their shelves. So for me, I take that sellable product window and I do enough that like, so for instance, if it's 8 weeks, I won't produce more than like 4 to 5 weeks of stock at a time. So if I produce anything close to 8 weeks, there's the opportunity that we won't get the forecast and then it's just we're throwing it away or selling it distressed where we don't get, the margin. So I'm trying to build, 4 to 5 at the most so that I can have enough to cover like a few weeks of, something comes in double the forecast that week, I've got it. But it's not so much that we're, paying storage fees for it. We're potentially just throwing it away because I've made too much. So it's just that sweet spot where you feel comfortable with the weeks, weeks of supply. That's how I judge everything, is like weeks of supply. So finding that weeks of supply that makes you feel comfortable that you have a buffer, but that you can also get through it before it goes short dated.
Mm-hmm. Gosh,
it's different for everybody.
It seems pretty stressful to handle all this. I mean, it's
operations is not for the lighthearted. It's
right. Yes.
It's a very stressful job. I mean, I like it and it's busy all the time. I always have something to do, but like there's some days,
like throwing away product, that would be so difficult. Yeah.
Well, and it's funny because like 2 of my biggest goals are case fill, which is making sure our orders get fulfilled a certain percent, and then waste and making sure that waste bucket is small. So I'm like truly having to find that middle ground where I can build enough to service everything, but not throw it away. So.
Wow.
So interesting. And so for a big company like SkinnyPop, you're doing like 50% in that kind of like anticipation and like maintaining your supply levels.
Yes. Yeah. So I try to, 4 weeks is really like, I would say the sweet spot for us. But another thing you have to think about is like with a huge company, always having 4 weeks of supply is a lot of storage and just tons of pallets. Like I think it's like 50,000 pallets if I were to get up to, 4 weeks of supply. So you have to also understand your budget for warehousing and make sure that you found a warehouse that you can hold all of that. And then, if I am getting up to 4 and we're just busting at the seam, then that kind of throws everything off where I can't produce what I need to produce. And then it's like, a month of trying to fix that and trickle that down and like fix it. So it's a giant puzzle.
Like it.
Puzzling every day.
Every day.
Cool. So let's talk a little bit about the acquisition. So hot topic. So in late 2017, Hershey acquired Amplify. You were there. You've been there for so long, for a whopping $1.6 billion. $1.6 billion. That is nuts. And you were there. You are there now. So like, how has your job changed from working for this small company where you were thinking it was just going to be customer service to now with this being owned by Hershey?
Yeah, it's like the company itself has changed dramatically. I would say like my job of planning is not that different because we're still like doing it in Excel, and we still, you know, for the most part have the same manufacturers that we were using before. So as far as like my day to day, it hasn't changed dramatically, but like our company as a whole has changed so much. You know, before the acquisition, during the acquisition, right after the acquisition, we went through a ton of like ELT leaders. It was just kind of like in and out, in and out, in and out. And, you know, part of that comes with—
What is ELT, Ellen?
Oh, executive leadership team. Okay. So like the C-level people.
Gotcha.
And really like VPs and directors as well. So a lot of that is to be expected when you're, you know, at first going public. You know, you just get a bunch of money and you kind of move on. Like that's just what some people do. And then with the acquisition, kind of that also happened. You know, a lot of people had stock, they got paid out. They were just like, okay, got what I needed from it. So since Hershey has acquired us and we've really gotten like into being with Hershey, it has been much more stable in that sense, which has been such a good thing for us. You know, we got some people that worked at Hershey for 15 to 20 years to come over and kind of be in that team. And it's just provided us a lot of stability that things aren't just like drastically changing, and our, you know, strategy year to year isn't just a fully different strategy because we have a new CEO or a new president or a new, you know, CFO. So I think that has been extremely helpful for us to just kind of get that stability that we need to kind of go to the next level. And we also just have a lot more resources to like do things with, which is helpful. You know, we've got Hershey backing us for procurement and, you know, contracts, and we can like kind of use that Hershey muscle to really help us get to that next level.
And you have chocolate in your office now.
Yeah.
All
Free
the time.
chocolate bars for life.
There was constant candy bowls, which was a lot of fun.
But you still maintain like the small brand feel and like all of the outward facing is.
Yeah, like we definitely are part of Hershey, but we're also still very much Amplify. So like we do our own thing, you know, we're tied to them and we report to them and we use them when we need to, but it's not something where, you know, everything we do is the same thing as Hershey. So it makes it's nice to keep that, you know, we can do little parties with ourselves and we can do, you know, decision making on our own. We don't have to like always call Hershey and be like, hey, can I do this? So I think it's kind of been the best of both worlds where we get what we need from a big company, but we're not just like this big corporation now.
Yeah. Wow. That sounds like a great acquisition. Yeah.
And Hershey is just like, it's a really good company. They do a ton of philanthropy. You know, they're really great, you know, people forward, like really caring about the people. Like when we were acquired, Michelle Buck, our CEO, came and had like lunch with a group of us. You know, like it's one of those where it's a large corporation, but it doesn't feel like I'm just this little, you know, minion in a huge corporation. Like they're good at, you know, people, which is surprising sometimes.
Yeah. Very cool. Well, so what are some maybe tools or some tips from you that smaller CPG brands who don't have this full operations team, how can they get better at planning and supply chain?
I mean, I know I talked about it earlier, but Excel.
So no Excel, okay.
No Excel. You know, there's tons of resources to like take classes, you know, learn more, dive deeper into it, you know, we're still doing all of our planning out of Excel, which, you know, that's 4 brands, 15 commands, you know, just doing all of that in Excel. And like, fairly accurate. There could be things that are helpful with the system, but for the most part, it's worked just fine. And until last summer, we were doing all of our forecasting out of Excel. So we're a company that doesn't want to invest in some kind of system early on. You can do everything in Excel. So just kind of diving into that. As far as other resources, I don't know as much because I was lucky to kind of come into an already established system. So I have luckily just kind of had resources through employees and coworkers and stuff. So I don't know of other resources but Excel.
Yeah,
and know your numbers and put them in Excel.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So what's a common, since you see what's happening with SkinnyPop and Pirate's Booty and Oatmega and Paqui, what are some common issues that you see all of these brands kind of running into, and how can you avoid that in the operations?
Yeah, so one of them that even we have struggled with is being prepared for growth. Any small CPG, that's your goal. You want to grow, you want to get bigger, you want to, maybe be acquired someday or go public. So being able to kind of hit go when you need to and have that plan already prepared, I think is something that we weren't necessarily always ready for. And it's probably something that happens to a lot of companies faster than they think. So I would say having that plan when you don't need it is so critical. It takes a really long time to set up manufacturers. It takes a really long time to set up a new warehouse. Things take a lot of time. So if you are starting that process when you're starting to see that kind of bubble burst, you're going to be screwed for a long time. So just being prepared for that and being able to kind of jump into it, I think is something that a lot of brands don't do soon enough. Another one is kind of being strategic about who you are selling into. It's so tempting to say oh, Walmart, Target, Club, that's where I want to be. And you do want to be there when you're ready. Club is huge. If you get into a Costco, a BJ's, a Sam's, your inventory and your demand is going to skyrocket. And again, if you're not prepared for that, you could ruin your relationship with those brands and not have another chance for a while. Or Walmart, Target, if you are a very high-end, unique kind of niche product, being in Target and Walmart might not be a good idea for you, at least in the beginning, because you're going to get in there, no one's going to buy your product, and then it's going to be fail. Maybe you need to start with the natural channel and really focus on that versus just kind of the allure of being in a big box store. I think those two are probably the biggest that I've personally experienced.
That's such a good note about the big box store. We've heard the same from our friend Mark Nathan, saying having the same sentiment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we had a kettle chip brand that we scored a big deal with Walmart, and that was it was going to be Walmart exclusive for a little bit, and it just didn't sell. And it, for me, that makes sense. You go to Walmart, you're not going to try the new hot thing. You're going for your staples and you're going for good prices. So seeing a luxury potato chip brand for sometimes triple the price of another bag, I wouldn't buy it. That's not what I'm there for. So, and we don't have that brand anymore. So it really is a testament to you have to put it in the right places, especially when you're starting off. And once you get that, once you have customers and you have people that know who you are, that's when you can go in and you're prepared for that. But starting out at those big box stores can be a death wish sometimes. And they're high maintenance. So you have to be ready to, pivot to what they want from you versus you being this is what I want to sell.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's so interesting because it's just the allure of it. It's just yes, I want to be in Walmart. Everyone's from there, but yeah, it's really interesting.
Whole new ball game once you're there.
Yeah. Earlier you talked about, having waste from product. Is there anything that you're seeing that brands are able to do with that waste or any other new trends in your industry?
So what we do is like every month we kind of go through a distressed sales process. So we take all of our inventory, we take the lot codes and the expiration dates, anything that we know is past that kind of shippable window to customers, we'll kind of sell it to the distressed channel. So we have a few customers that just purely buy distressed product from us. So they're fine with taking it a little short dated because it's still good. And things like, the stuff that you see in TJ Maxx.
Okay.
Grocery Outlet is like our main one. I think they have actual stores. I don't think they have them in Texas, but there's like actual stores that just sell kind of that distressed product, which again, it has shelf life. It's not bad. It's just not to the long shelf life that, a Target, Kroger, Tom Thumb would require in order to put on their shelves. So that's what we do with a lot of it. And then once it goes past even the shelf life that a distressed customer will take it at, we will try to donate it to different companies that will take it. Like Feed the Children is one that we send a lot of product to. And then we've even donated to like pig farmers because they'll take popcorn and some of our brands and just kind of like put it in their pig food. So
yeah, that's exactly what we did at Vital Farms.
Yeah. So it's, for the most part, we get through a lot of it. We do end up just like destroying some of it, stuff like our spicy Paqui chips, like those aren't going to go to children and those aren't going to go to pigs. So sometimes we just don't have a home for them, but we try like multiple steps to just get it to someone that will use it before we trash it. Very
cool. I always wondered, like shopping at Marshall's and TJ Maxx, like all the foods, they're always like really delicious. I'm like, why are these here?
I know. That was like such an eye opener for me because I thought the same thing. I was like, well, I'm not going to buy it. It's like bad. But then I realized it's not bad. It's just like slightly shorter than.
Yeah, just got to immediately, which I'm fine with.
It's just distressed.
Perfectly good still.
Any other trends happening in like with Amplify or just in operations?
Yeah, I mean, just with like SkinnyPop, well, I guess kind of SkinnyPop and Pirates Booty probably for the most part. In the last couple of years, multi-packs have like blown up. So like the smaller 100 calorie or, just smaller bags within a pouch or a box, those have blown up in the last few years. And I mean, it makes sense. Like you have kids, you're going to work, you just grab a bag instead of having to like use your own plastic bag. But that is actually a lot harder, functionally to make in a manufacturing plant versus like just, a big bag. Because with a big bag, you're sealing less often, you're using less, film because you're just making one bag versus a ton. It's less people because you're not having to like put bags inside a bag and then seal that bag. So that has been something that we have had to like adjust so dramatically because we have to figure out, how do we get our manufacturers to be able to make more? Like, how do we get it out faster? How do we get it out in, 15 different pack outs, 15 different flavors? Whereas before, a lot of our manufacturing plants were set up for big bags, mainly big bags with like a little small bag. So that's been a trend that we are, still to be, honest, struggling to keep up with because it's like new flavor, new variety, new pack out. We have a 16 count, now I want a 30 count. So it's just like constantly, that's what everybody wants. But what's actually funny with COVID last year, when everything kind of started to shut down and like everyone was rushing to the grocery stores and even like news outlets were saying like, these are the items to buy, like SkinnyPop was luckily one of them, but it was like this giant flip back to big bags. So we were like, got it, all the mini, like the small bags, multi-packs, got it. And all of a sudden it was like, nope, nobody wants that anymore. No one's going to school. No buying of that. Like I want big bags again. So there's one item that we sell in club stores that I make every single week, no matter what, always being produced at multiple facilities. And I had to actually shut that down for like a month because just no one was buying them. So it's just funny how life really does affect the market, and you have to pay such close attention to like buying habits and time of year. Like summers are so hard for us because everyone's purchasing back to school stuff and like there's back to school sales and all this stuff. So just, watching the trends over the year, what's happening in life really affects what's happening in manufacturing.
Yeah. Do
Wow.
you know where like your forecasters track those consumer trends other than just like your sales?
So we have a whole like department. I mean, it's like 5 people, it's not 50, but we have a department that can't think of what their titles are, but they do purely, they're like part of the sales team, but they tracked consumer trends and they are giving that influence to like our actual sales team just on kind of what's happening in competitors and the world, just kind of, the trends that are happening. So there's that piece. And then we do have like a pretty robust forecasting system now. So it reads seasonality, it reads, just our years of past data. And then that plus having weekly, sometimes bi-weekly conversations with our sales team, that's kind of where that information comes together for our forecast.
Was anyone on your team able to like foresee that? Like, okay, people are hunkered down, or that was a total.
It caught us all by surprise. I mean, we were having literally daily meetings in the beginning, like at 5 p.m. to like discuss what was happening and like what we were going to do tomorrow. And like, especially with COVID, some of our plants just like shut down because people got COVID. And like when someone in the plant they all had to be out because they're working, close to each other. So it took us all by surprise. And I think last March was the most sales we had ever had in the history of Amplify because everyone was just like running to the grocery store to get stuff. So it was a wild couple weeks there.
What a trip.
Yeah.
What a trip.
Okay, Ellen. Well, nuggets. So pretty much if you want to really, really dig into supply chain operations, you got to be organized. You got to be good at communicating with a whole lot of people. You got to be flexible, right?
Yes,
it's just
absolutely.
like nothing is set in stone.
Nothing. And it's funny because like we'll have calls about promos coming up or like with Costco, they have what they call MVMs, and it's those like mailers you get in the mail, the mailers once a month. And when you are part of one of those mailers and have like a coupon, your volume skyrockets. So like it's a huge deal to be a part of that, but it's also, like you're watching that like your little baby, just making sure the MVM goes well. And so we'll have meetings every week on how it's going, and I'll just be like, at this very moment in time, it's okay. And people kind of laugh at us at work because that's like a lot of what operations says is like, you're asking me at 11:52 on a Tuesday, yes, it's okay. If you ask me in an hour, it might not be okay. So
oh my gosh.
It's just one of those things that it changes minute to minute. Because like if something happens and there's like a fire at a plant and that goes down, like you could be screwed for weeks on your inventory because it's just gone. So wild.
Yeah.
Wow.
Sounds like a great time. But for real, like you're making it happen. You are literally getting this product on the shelf for us to purchase. So
I know it's fun when like my family or friends like send me a photo of a bag or something. I'm like, I made that for you.
Yeah, I made it
for you. Yeah, it is very gratifying. Like, and especially we track our case fill every single week. So if I get like a good case fill the week prior, like that is, again, very nerdily, very gratifying for me because like I did that and I got it there and I succeeded at that puzzle I was trying to figure out. So
puzzler. I love it. Awesome, Ellen. Well, thanks for coming on and talking with us.
You.
And would you like to leave the audience with like a link or a call to action or a final statement? Go buy SkinnyPop.
Yeah, go buy SkinnyPop, go buy Pirate's Booty, go buy Paqui. Paqui is like very underrated, I would say.
I love
Paqui. Like a better for you deodorant. I almost said deodorant. Better for you Dorito. It like has all real clean ingredients. So I think those people sleep on a lot, but they're delicious.
Yeah, go buy them, take a photo, send it to us. We'll send it to Ellen. She'll feel great about the week of operations.
Exactly.
Did it.
Awesome. Thanks, Ellen.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Ellen.
My Social Circle is a CPG agency-driven podcast based out of Austin, Texas. We're excited to share more behind-the-scene insights, chats with industry leaders, and whatever else we learn along the way. Follow us on Instagram at Marketing, or check out our website, umaimarketing.com. Catch you back here soon.